So what is the job I am going to give you? Each group is going to be asked to explain one concept related to the Fourier transform. I have taught you some concepts in the morning. No? So you are going to be asked to, I will tell you which concept to explain. See, because I know that many of you know these things, but I want to discuss the pedagogy and certain insights behind it. So, have you formed? So let me see, we will, have you formed groups of 4 there? Okay, so we will now give the names, like, so you tell me group 1 from here, can you raise your hands? There are 4, no, group 3 people should be there, no? So which are the 3 people in group 1? Your group 1. Group 2, group 3, group 4, and group 5 has only 2 people, fine. And group 1 here, group 2, okay, group 3, okay, group 4, and group 5, group 5. Again group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, and group 5, okay. Now I will say similarly group 1, no, group 5 will have less people, so which is group, so you are 3, so you are group 5, so group 1, no sorry, group 1 will have less people, so you will be group 1, right. So group 2, group 3, group 4, and group 5. No? So I think all the group 1s can, so we have exactly 5, so all the group 1s sit here, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I am going to start explaining to each group what you have to explain. So group 1, your job is, you have to explain the expression for the Fourier. Now I have taught you one expression in the morning, but you are aware of the actual expression of the Fourier transform, right? So this is the expression that I have taught you in the morning, but you know that the actual expression for the Fourier transform is this. Isn't it? Now I want you to discuss among yourself, and I want you to relate what I taught you in the morning as this expression to this expression. I want you to relate, you must discuss among yourself first. And for that you can sit, you can come closer. Now group, so this is your job. So while you start doing that, I'll give you about 10 minutes. I'll tell the other group what they are supposed to do. This is group 1. You can talk among yourself, you can sit together and talk, and you can do it in any way you like. So you are required, yes? The question is, you are going to be asked to explain. See, this is the expression known for the Fourier transform, no? More used. Now what is the connection between this and this? Why do we go to this expression? Right? And interpret this expression. So all this, you must give me, you must come and tell, must come and explain. Some of you must come and explain. So you can all group together. If you want, you can rearrange your benches also if you like, That is, so I'll give you about 10 minutes. So you can keep discussing. Now group 2, your job is convolution. What is convolution? That means, I told you that the impulse response is a very important property of a linear shift invariant system. Now how do you calculate the output of a linear shift invariant system given the input and the impulse response? Okay, that is through convolution. Now that's why I put mix of all kinds of people. Some of you will know the answer, right? So how many of you are familiar with convolution? How many of you are afraid of convolution? Can I see? Yeah, how many of you are afraid of convolution? Yeah, anyway. So how many in this group, how many are familiar with convolution? Yeah. So other people So now you have to explain what convolution is, and you have to explain what happens to the Fourier transform, what is the connection between Fourier transform and convolution. Now of course I will also be explaining a little bit, but I want you to come up with first. Fourier transform and convolution, and why, and you have to prove and explain and prove. So while group 1 and group 2 are preparing, now you get so you will get little more time because group 1 will be explaining, so you will get some more time. Now group 3, you have to explain what happens when you delay a signal to the Fourier transform. Differentiate a signal when you multiply a signal by a sine wave explain what happens in the Fourier transform. Now when I say explain, it is not simply write a mathematical, that of course you have to do, but you must also interpret it, right? You must interpret what is happening, that is important. So you discuss among yourself. So group 4, now group 4, you have to explain the Fourier, give examples of, take the Fourier series representation. Take the you're going to deal with the Fourier series representation of a periodic waveform. You are going to explain how you use this Fourier series representation to find out the output of a linear shift invariant system when you give it a periodic input, right? So, yeah, so how you are going to find out, obtain the and also talk about the frequency response of a system. What is the frequency response of a system? And give it a physical interpretation. Okay, this is for group 4. Okay, group 4, is your job clear? No? Anyway, you discuss. Professor Prashant Bhattake knows the job. So you have to learn, See, actually this is also an opportunity for you to get to know one another. That's why I'm insisting on this exercise. After lunch, it's good to talk to other people also. Otherwise, you will all of you will go to sleep, I know. So group 5, you must say you must explain what is duality. Now what is duality? Look at the inverse Fourier transform. Look at the inverse Fourier transform. Look at the expression for the Fourier transform and the inverse Fourier transform and see the similarities and differences, and then bring out the property of duality. Okay? And you must explain. Now with duality, you must also explain what happens in the Fourier transform when you multiply two signals. Is group 5 clear what you have to do? Yes. Yes, you should try to use duality in that. Yes. No, they are related. Now, what happens to the Fourier transform when you multiply two signals? You can use duality there. Right? You can use duality. After group 1 does its job, then you can use duality. Okay, so now all of you, I'll give you 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes, then each of you will come. So we'll go in the same order. Group 1 will come first, then group 2, then group 3. So you can come, you can also rearrange your chairs if you want. You want to do that? And rearrange your chairs and discuss.
प्रूव करायचं ना आपल्याला कन्व्होल्यूशन असंच फॉर्म्युला because of that by with the impulse shifted and the different weights.
Achha, one more thing. After this, I'm going to randomly call anybody in the group and ask him to introduce all the group partners. Name and club, institute, everything. So anybody, randomly I'll pick one person and ask him to come and introduce all the group partners. No, unless you introduce everybody, you are not fast. That means you have to get to know all your partners. So did you hear my announcement? I'm going to randomly pick anybody from the group and he'll have to come in, he or she will have to introduce the whole group. All the group partners. Which group has less people right now? You have less people, so you can come into this group. You can come into group 5.
So interpretation is like that here phase spectrum remains same, phase spectrum gets altered. Here phase
So both should be mathematical and mathematical and also interpretation.
But we have to show how this formula is. That's what we are trying to मैडम हे झालं पण हे जे फॉर्म्युला सर्टिफिकेट क्या होगा इसके कॉम्पोनेंट आता आपल्याकडे एक सिग्नल आहे shifted by some change so because the system linear time images change just recall करायला लागेल तुम्हाला clear understand but this is technical part of it omega t because the system initial time let's say plus 5 minus now we are scaling the linear phase you want to scale the spectrum so we are scaling the phase the same way it's a linear phase as omega t so जरूर y and drop ये है ना h of prime sorry ये आपका h impulse that's the in actual I delay the signal time how is it reflected in the Fourier xt the phase angle periodic signal so phase spectrum changes delaying signaling time is equivalent to this is the linear why linear is because delta is constant right and omega to understand that for phase angle versus omega it is linear it's minus sign so it's indicative minus figure is the increase omega angle versus then reply that xt with derivative in the time domain which is time phase
When you talk take the Fourier, do it for step by step. Finally, what you get, the component on x and y multiplied independently. If you take that analogy, exactly the projection of x on real axis multiplied by the
some kind of
projection of x on vertical axis and you take x with multiplied by j omega. That j square will become an equal to and it will go. The constant x we are studying multiplication.
Center of meteorological.
In the department itself, or center the building itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's the head will know.
There's a change in phase. Change in time. Minus 90. Answer of this omega. Correct answer. अगर ऐसा होगा तो और ओमेगा से 1 से ज्यादा है उसका जो फेस पार्ट प्लस Fourier transform y of y of Y of easy value substitute. We are substituting for y of easy and then more approximate. Multiplying this time by time. This is the definition of Laplace.
Good, very good. I think everybody is ready now, no? Very nice. So, good. So now we'll go in the same order. We'll take group 1 first. And as I told you, I'm going to call on anybody randomly and random person. Yes, that is true. I'll pick somebody whose name who I know. So I'll have to pick somebody whose name I know. I can come and see it on your badge, no? Okay, so from group 1, whom should I ask to introduce? I'll ask Professor Zogwar.
So we have Professor Pandey from COEP.
Yeah, please stand up so everybody can hear. Quick, hurry up. Yes.
Then we have Jatin from COEP. Then we have Professor Deshpande from COEP. Then we have Dr. Kazi from VJTI. Then We have Professor Dhere from COEP. Then we have Lenina from SGGS Nanded. We have Madhuri from COEP. And we have Mr. Hanuman from BJTI. COEP. Yeah. And we have Professor Vyas from COEP.
Very well done. Congrats. Now, who would like to come and explain the concept which you are supposed to explain? Okay, Professor Pandey will come.
Yeah, this is the expression that was given. This was discussed in the pre-lunch session, and the assignment given to us was to prove the equivalence of this with this. We discussed amongst ourselves, and we said that if it is the inner product and e raised to j omega t is expressed in terms of the real and imaginary axis as a vector, real and imaginary axis as a projection of the vectors on real axis and imaginary axis. So by Euler's theorem we can write down e raised to j minus j omega t as cos omega t minus j sin omega t.
You can use the...
Should I write down that, sir?
Yeah, right. Take another fresh sheet of paper there. And use the pen. Can you use the paper to explain?
Yeah, yeah. So this is on the real and imaginary axis. We have this as omega t, a unit vector rotating at a speed of omega radians per second. So this is obviously cos omega t, and this is sin omega t. And expressing this as a vector sum, we write down cos omega t. This is minus, of course, minus j omega t, so it is minus j omega t. If we do that with this unit vector, we must do the same thing with f of t also. And in that case, we have a real part of f of t and imaginary part of f of t. So there is that j component here also. So when we take the inner product, the real part of this unit vector and real part of ft, they will get multiplied by, and they will get multiplied, and we will get minus infinity to plus infinity cos omega t coming up as a real part of that vector into real part of f of t dt minus j omega minus j sin omega t as the imaginary part. Similarly, for ft we will have j ft. Here I am not writing minus j. So this j and j will get multiplied, and it will be minus 1, so this will become plus. And finally what we get here is what was there earlier. Of course here real part of ft and imaginary part of ft are coming, and in our earlier expression there was nothing like that. So what to do about them is the point where we stop discussing. I mean, here I am showing real part and imaginary part of ft, but those never appeared in our earlier expressions. So what to do with them?
So, you have derived. Very good.
This is what we have derived here.
So anybody wants to add to that? Any other group wants to come?
Because the earlier expression was simply like this.
Yes.
Now I am getting something like this.
Where is the trouble? Yes.
Basically, you can't into C plus ID. So you'll have A.
So we are talking about the inner product. So real part multiplied by real part and imaginary part multiplied by imaginary part. We are considering that as a vector sum. So x component and y component to be multiplied independently and then added.
Sir, while writing that real part of f of t, you are not introducing that I. That is the only a real value function. Real part of
To my knowledge, actually this, when we deal with the complex numbers, this complex, that I comes into picture to take care of the phase. And they are not really imaginary something, it is that there.
When you take the
So,
inner product, the second part you have to take the conjugate.
ah,
If it is a complex.
so minus 30 cancel.
Nick answer. Sir, please, I didn't.
Yeah. Yes, you want to say something?
You are having inner product of complex numbers now there, so you have to define the inner product of x, y as x x into y conjugate.
Y conjugate. Okay.
Last question. So, as we are taking inner product, we are having f of t into e to the power minus j omega t. So, e to the power minus j omega t is already conjugate of e to the power j omega t, which you are considering for inner product.
Okay.
So, you are supposed to take projection on e to the power j omega t, but as we are taking inner product, it will become e to the power minus j omega t, and automatically you will have that.
Okay. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Anyway, good.
Thank you.
Well tried. I'll improve.
Thank you.
It's good. First, let's give Professor Pandey a big hand. Very good. Very nice. That's very well. So now, Professor Pandey has made a good effort to explain. Now, I'll refine this. See, let's go back to that expression. These two terms. Ft cos omega t and Ft sin omega t. This, of course, you understood in the morning, that this is the dot product of Ft and cos omega t, and the other one is the inner product of Ft and sin omega t. Now, let us look at this e raised to the power j omega t. As Professor Pandey said, what kind, as a function of t, how does it look in the complex plane? It's a complex number of magnitude 1 rotating with an angular velocity of omega, isn't it? Now, look at e raised to the power j omega t and e raised to the power minus j omega t. What is the relation between them? One of them is a complex number rotating in the counterclockwise direction, the other one rotates in the clockwise direction. Okay? When you bring them together, what happens? When you add them, you get 2 times cos omega t, right? So, e raised to the power j omega t plus e raised to the power minus j omega t is 2 times cos omega t. And if I subtract them, what do I get? 2j times sin omega t, isn't it? So, if I know this quantity, if I know this expression, integral ft e raised to the power minus j omega t, and I also know the same expression with omega replaced by minus omega. So, I know this and I know this. Okay. Then by adding them, if I add them, I will get 2 times integral ft cos omega t dt. And if I subtract them, what will I get? Minus 2j times sin omega t. I mean, sorry, integral ft sin omega t dt. Isn't it? So, from these two, I can solve one for the other, right? I can express these two in terms. So, in fact, you know, if I call this, let me call this, let me define this. Let me define this as capital F as a function of omega. If I take capital F omega plus capital F minus omega and divide by 2, I get the first of the two expressions. Alright, and if I take capital F omega minus capital F minus omega and divide by minus 2j, I get the second expression. So, one thing we have shown is that this expression can enable us to get both the expressions by replacing omega by minus omega. Now, what is the interpretation? Now, why are we going to complex numbers? Let us understand. You see, take a sine wave. If I change the amplitude of the sine wave, suppose I replace it by A1, I get A1 cos omega naught t plus phi naught. This can be written as A1 by A naught times A naught cos omega naught t plus phi naught. So, change of amplitude is equivalent to multiplication by a constant A1 by A0, right. But if I change the phase, changing the phase A naught cos omega naught t plus phi 1, this is not equal to some constant times A naught cos omega naught t plus phi naught. The action of changing the phase cannot be expressed as multiplication by a constant. However, if I go to the expression A naught e raised to the power j omega naught, so t plus phi naught. Now, here if I change the amplitude, of course, this is equal to A1 by A naught times A naught e raised to the power j omega naught t plus. So, amplitude change is no problem. But the beauty is if I change the phase, also the same property holds. So, A naught e raised to the power j omega naught t plus phi 1 can be expressed as A naught e raised to the power j omega naught t plus phi naught plus phi 1 minus phi naught. And you can expand this. So, both change of amplitude and change of phase result in multiplication by a constant. That is the beauty. So, when we use complex exponentials, rotating complex exponentials. So, it is convenient to think of sine waves as a combination of rotating complex exponentials, because both change of amplitude and change of phase result in a multiplication by a constant. Okay? So, that is why we go to that expression. So, we bring in complex numbers because of this property, because it is easier to deal with what happens when I see, because in these, say take for example, if you gave a sine wave to an RC circuit, there are going to be changes of phase. Now, if you work with sine waves, that change of phase will not get expressed as multiplication by a constant. But if I work with these rotating complex numbers, then a change of phase is also multiplication by a constant, complex constant. Therefore, I can think of a notion of, so the whole notion of impedance or admittance is valid because you are dealing with rotating complex numbers, not sine waves actually. Is this point clear? It's a subtle point and everybody should appreciate this, yeah. And that's, so when complex exponential goes through a linear shift invariant system, even if the phase is changed, it will still effect be multiplication by a constant. Okay, that is one thing. Secondly, why did I have to see this whole notion of dot product? So, now when I bring in functions which are complex, then how do I define the dot product? So, if I have xt and yt, both of which are complex functions, then what is the inner product of xt and yt? Is it xt yt dt, or should we make a change? Okay, now to answer the question, let us see what happens if you take the inner product of xt with itself. What should you be getting? If I take the inner product of xt with itself, what should you be getting? A magnitude square of the vector. Now, if you take a magnitude square of the vector, it has to be non-negative and real. Magnitude cannot be complex or negative. So, it has to be non-negative and real. So, will this give me a non-negative and real quantity? X squared t dt is not going to be, it won't even be real perhaps, it may be complex. So, how will I get a non-negative quantity out of this? I will have to conjugate the second argument. So suppose I define it by conjugating the second argument. Put a conjugate here. Now what will happen? If I take xt dot product with xt, it will be xt bar dt, okay, which is minus infinity plus infinity mod xt squared dt. Now this has to be non-negative and real. Mod xt squared is non-negative. So mod xt squared dt has no choice but to be non-negative and real. And therefore we need to complex conjugate the second argument. So actually ft into e raised to the power minus j omega t dt is the inner product of ft and e raised to the power j omega t, because you have complex conjugate the second argument. So it's like a project, it's like a component of ft along the rotating complex number e raised to the power j omega t. Is that clear to everybody? Okay, very nice. So now we will go to group 2. It's great fun to do it this way, no? Otherwise if I had just lectured it to you, then it wouldn't have been absorbed, but now you will absorb it very well. Very good. Group 2, yes. So now whom do I pick from group 2 to introduce everybody? Everybody is looking at everybody else. Whom to introduce? I can come and see the badges, no? I can cheat. Let me see. I'll ask the young, well, let me, Professor Patel. So first, you introduce all your friends. Principal, cheating.
Less time to get into
Yes.
discussing more on the
That is correct.
problem.
You can ask them anyway. Yeah.
So, first, Madam Syed from SGGS, and Madam Renuka Madam, Walchand College, Girgaonkar Madam, Walchand College, Sandeep Sir, Vijay T.I., Deshpande Madam, Walchand College, Amar, COEP, and Rajesh Kumar, IIT, Shingade Sir. 7. No, okay. So it was a bit difficult.
Doesn't matter. At least now you know him. No?
Yes.
Very good. Now who would like to come and explain your, very good. So Professor Deshpande, no? Shraddha Deshpande. You can come and sit here.
We have tried it, so if there is any wrong thing, please excuse us. So first the definition, or what do you mean by convolution? So the problem given to us is the convolution. So definition as such for the convolution is, convolution means winding or coiling of two functions together, as a mathematical or theoretical definition. Or in second definition we can consider as convolution in one domain is multiplication in another domain. And one more definition we can consider is, if the impulse response of LTI system is known, then response to any input can be evaluated. Next is the Fourier transform and convolution. So Fourier transform means multiplication of the two signals. In the Fourier transform, which we can represent as x omega into h omega. Then in convolution, so as we are more familiar, or we can recollect the discrete, so I will try to explain that. So suppose the signal xk we can represent, then the samples we can consider 0, 1, 2, 3, and suppose some values we are considering. This is xk signal, and another signal is hk, then which we can consider 0, 1, 2, 3, and some signals we will consider. Then convolution xk into hk can be represented as summation of xk into hn minus k, and so we will get here n minus k, and so we will get here x0 into h3 plus x1 into h2 plus x2 into h1 plus x3 into h0. So it is summation of xk into h minus k. Then next question is the explain and prove. So it is difficult to prove, but whatever we have tried is that multiplication of the Fourier transform is converting of time domain to frequency domain, and if we are considering multiplication of two signals, we can represent it in this fashion. So minus infinity to plus infinity x tau into h t minus tau into e raised to minus j omega t into d tau, dt into d tau, d tau. Then putting t minus tau is equal to t minus, if double integration is there, then you will get dt into d.
You want to say?
So it is difficult to prove it, but the basic things.
Who would like to improve upon this? Any of you want to improve upon this? Okay, so well tried. I think we'll give first Deshpande a big hand. See, what is the impulse response? The impulse response is a response to a very narrow impulse. So you have a very narrow impulse, very narrow pulse, located at t equal to tau, and that gives you, now you suppose the pulse were at t equal to 0. And suppose we denote the impulse response. So this pulse gives a response of ht. Okay, it gives a response. So ht, which is the impulse response, is a response to this pulse, with the pulse lying at t equal to 0. Now if the pulse lies at t equal to tau, what will be the response to this pulse? H of t minus tau. Now that will be the response if the pulse is of strength 1, it has one area of 1. But if I multiply the pulse by x of tau, what will happen? So if I multiply this pulse by x of tau, what property should I invoke here? The property of homogeneity. So what will be the output then? X of tau times h of t minus tau. And now when I put together all these pulses at different taus, what would I get? I would get the output. So what would the output be in general? The integration over tau, x tau, h t minus tau. Okay, so this is the relation between the output and the input using the impulse response. Now if I take the Fourier transform of this, it's very simple. So this is y of t and multiplied by e raised to the power minus j omega t dt. Okay, integrate again over t. Okay, so now let's write the double integral. That should be d tau, I am sorry, d tau dt. Please make that correction. This should be d tau. Is that right? Now, what are the variables tau and t? Okay. Let us substitute t minus tau by lambda. Okay, so now we have two new variables. You have tau as it is and lambda. Tau is equal to tau, of course, and lambda is equal to t minus tau. So you can write it like this: tau lambda is tau is 1 0 times, and then lambda is 1 minus 1. Okay. Now when you make a, see, when you make when you have a double integral, when you have a twofold integral and you want to make a change of variable, how do you do it? D tau d lambda will be the Jacobian, of the transformation multiplied by d tau dt. Now what is the Jacobian? The Jacobian is the modulus of the determinant of this matrix. How much is the determinant of this matrix? 1. So therefore the modulus is also 1. So therefore d lambda d tau is equal to d tau dt. Okay, so therefore if you look at this expression, x tau ht minus tau etc. d tau dt, d tau dt can be replaced by d tau d lambda, and you can write everything. And now look at this, when tau goes from minus to plus infinity, and if you fix tau, and t also goes from minus to plus infinity, for any fixed tau, lambda will go independently from plus to minus, from minus to plus infinity, right? So therefore we can rewrite this integral in the form minus to plus infinity x of tau h of lambda e raised to the power. Now you must substitute t by lambda and tau plus lambda d tau d lambda. Now let us expand this. So let us take the terms depending on tau first. Okay. So we can take the lambda terms outside. H lambda e raised to the power minus j omega lambda, in bracket now you have minus infinity to plus infinity x tau e raised to the power minus j omega tau d tau, and then the whole thing d lambda. But what is this integral x tau e raised to the power minus j omega tau d tau? It is the Fourier transform of x, and that is independent of lambda. So you can pull it outside. And what is left now inside? Integral h lambda e raised to the power minus j omega lambda d lambda. What is that? That is the Fourier transform of h. So therefore this, now this operation, this operation which I showed you here, this operation yt is, see, yt is itself a function of t, xt is a function of t, ht is a function of t. Now you have an operation between two functions. You have an operation between two functions xt and ht, which gives you another function yt. This operation between the functions xt and ht is called convolution of ht and xt. Okay, and there are many properties that convolution has. We have not gone into them here. Okay, but what you can see is if I go to the Fourier domain, if I express, instead of working with the signals, I work with their Fourier transforms, then convolution translates into multiplication. That makes it so much easier, isn't it? So in fact, what is a transform? A transform is a change of paradigm. Paradigm means worldview. The way we deal with the whole situation changes when we take a transform. That's why we take transforms. If they help us deal with the situation more efficiently. Okay, so this was the answer. This was about group 2. Very good. Thank you, very good. We will take one more group and then we can go for tea, isn't it? We can take one more group. So who is now group 3? Who is the guinea pig? Who can I catch? You know everybody? Okay, very good. Good. So you can introduce.
Vijay Sambe from VJTI.
Then Umesh from RIT, then Jiba from Xavier's College, then Nita from MIT, then Sutavane, sir, Professor Sutavane, then Sachin Mastood from VJTI, then Professor Attar from VJTI, then Professor Chalne from VJTI, Professor Shirore from VJTI, then Sangeeta ma'am from VIT, and Bindu madam from Trivandrum. Myself Vijay Sambe from VJTI.
Very good, very nice. Now who would like to come and explain? Okay. Professor Bartak, Professor Sutavane will explain.
So good afternoon everybody. We are given 3 small exercises. I'll also write it here anyway. So we have been given a signal xt which is continuous time, and then when we delay the signal by a constant, an amount, let's say t0, then what is the effect on its Fourier transform? That was of exercise number 1 given to us. So xt is a CT signal, continuous time signal, so as to say, and as Professor Gadre already said, many a times the time domain signal may not give us information which we want actually. So for example, if I speak into this microphone and I try to sketch this signal on oscilloscope screen, I may get some garbage, okay? I may not be able to identify whether I speak or you speak. Probably the signals look alike. But when I sketch the Fourier spectrum, the Fourier domain picture of my signal, speech signal, then I may be able to get some frequency components, that information about the frequency contents of my signal. That's the way for any transform domain kind of sketch or information makes probably the information revealed, more revealed in front of us. Therefore, we go for transform domain, and Fourier transform gives us information about which frequency components are present in our signal, with how much magnitude and how much phase. Okay, so the picture is like, it looks like x of omega, and then this x omega by default is a complex number. Okay, xt could be real signal, or it could be complex signal. But by default, when I multiply this xt with e raised to minus j omega t dt and then take integration, then this by default becomes a complex number. Every complex number has got 2 parts. One is magnitude, other is phase. So I can say this is therefore equal to mod of x omega and angle of x omega, right? So it always possesses 2 parts. One is mod, one is angle. Just delaying this exercise number 1 was delaying the signal in time domain. So xt is a signal given to us. It is delayed by a constant t0. What is its effect on Fourier transform? So let us do that derivation first. So I'll go for exercise number 1. So we did it like this. It was minus 2 plus infinity x of t minus t0 e raised to minus of j omega t dt. We'll make some replacement or substitution for t minus t0. So let us say t minus t0 is equal to lambda. So I therefore get t is equal to lambda plus t0. So I'll make this replacement over here. So therefore this becomes minus 2 plus infinity x of lambda. It is e raised to minus j omega. This t is equal to lambda plus t0. It is therefore lambda plus t0 here. And then d of t was lambda plus t0 anyway. So I get this like x lambda e raised to minus j omega lambda and then d lambda. Okay, dt0 is, there is no like, because t0 is constant, I will not take difference of that. Therefore this minus 2 plus infinity x of lambda e raised to minus j omega lambda d lambda. This is nothing but again Fourier transform, and I get multiplication over e raised to minus j omega t0. So just to write that, so now I am going to delay the signal, convert the signal like this, that is delayed by x, let's say x of t minus t0. I get its Fourier domain picture like x of omega e raised to minus j omega t0. So I can interpret this transformation like this. So delay in the time domain signal by a constant of an amount of t0 will be multiplication of Fourier spectrum, Fourier picture, Fourier transform by a phasor e raised to minus j omega t0. So this is going to alter the phase spectrum part of the Fourier transform as total. So let's say this can be again interpreted as mod of x omega, which remains as constant, it was as it was earlier, and angle of this phi of omega gets altered by what amount? It is e raised to minus j omega t0. So angle contribution is omega t0 over here. I can therefore say that this phi omega originally was, let's say, some kind of sketch over here. It was omega versus phi of omega. I have to subtract from every contribution at every frequency an angle of, let's say, omega t0. Okay, so t0 was a constant which was in dimensions of time. So this omega t0 becomes some second dimension of an angle. This omega is radians per second, into second becomes radians. So I have to therefore subtract from every angle contribution at every frequency by an amount of, let's say, omega t0. So overall interpretation is like this, that when I'm going to shift the signal by an amount of t0, its effect in Fourier domain is shifting the multiplying the spectrum by an amount of e raised to minus j omega t0. This was exercise number 1. Second what is symmetric kind of exercise. So now I'm going to have multiplication of time domain signal by a, let's say, a sinusoidal signal. So we'll again write it like it was xt initially. We have to convert that signal into, let's say, xt into e raised to j omega 0t. So I multiply time domain signal by a phasor e raised to j omega 0t. What is the effect on Fourier transform? So if, let's say, xt is going to have Fourier transform of x of omega, then what the Fourier transform is possessed by this kind of a alternate set xt of e raised what is the Fourier transform of this kind of signal when I multiply xt with e raised to j omega 0t. Again we can derive that. So I should not do the derivation, sir. I think there is no much time for us. Effect which we get is like this. I get x of omega minus omega 0. So I get, when I multiply the signal in time domain by a phasor of e raised to j omega 0t, the effect is very obvious. We will be getting shift in the Fourier domain picture by an amount of omega 0. So if, let's say, initial picture of Fourier transform was having center at 0, then the same picture now gets translated to, it is getting translated omega 0. So it is a translation on the frequency scale. There is a shifting of spectrum from the center 0 to center omega 0. So there is a, so we can in nutshell say that multiplying the signal in time domain by a phasor of e raised to j omega 0t is shifting the spectrum up on the frequency scale by a factor of omega 0. This property of Fourier transform is modulation. It is changing the center of the spectrum from 0 to some other frequency omega 0. Okay, so the shifting the spectrum up. I can again downshift the spectrum by doing the inverse kind of transformation over there. These are the two small exercises given to us. The third small exercise was when I take derivative of the signal xt in time domain, what is the effect on Fourier transform? Okay, again we will not derive that. The effect is like this. We get multiplication of Fourier transform, original Fourier transform by a factor minus j omega. Again it is like this minus j is going to add the contribution to phase angle, phase spectrum by an amount of minus 90 degrees. Omega is going to again scale the magnitude part of the spectrum. Okay, so every time there is a transformation of the phase and the magnitude spectrum pictures, right? So Fourier as a whole is a phase spectrum picture, magnitude spectrum picture. So we will be getting transformations on those fronts therefore. Okay, so we are going to transform something in time, some effect we get in the frequency also. Okay, we can interpret it very nicely. So again repeat, shifting the time domain signal shifting the signal in time domain by an amount of t0 is multiplying the frequency spectrum by an angle of e raised to minus j omega t0. Multiplying signal in time domain by e raised to j omega 0t is shifting the spectrum up on the frequency scale by amount omega 0. And differentiating signal in time domain is multiplying frequency spectrum by an amount of minus j omega. These are the three small exercises given to us.
Yes.
Every time I differentiate the
how
signal.
How do you interpret? What is your interpretation of this derivative?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I have a small question. What is the physical significance of multiplying a given signal by a phasor? How do you do that in practice?
No, multiplying Fourier picture, Fourier spectrum.
I mean, xt is available with me.
Huh.
I want to multiply it with e raised to j omega 0t.
Huh.
In reality, what I will be doing with the signal physically?
No, it is. It's like this that I will be again splitting that signal by Euler's identity into cos and sine. Okay. Omega 0. Yes, it is as if e raised to j omega 0 completely stands for a sinusoidal signal with omega 0.
No, but when you take a product here, mathematically it is okay. In real life, what I will be doing is
multiplication of two signals. As good as yes. It is anyway. It's a multiplying two signals anyway. But the multiplication of this anyway, x omega is a complex number, and multiplying it with minus j omega is going to shift its phase spectrum. So magnitude spectrum remains unaltered, and the
what is the physical interpretation?
For physical interpretation, okay. No. So it is actually multiplying one real function with one complex function. That's the thing, I assume. And yes, sir will probably highlight that on that. Those intricacies.
So the effect of shifting the frequency domain is effectively multiplying in the
See the beauty of Fourier transform is how it's complete symmetry in appearance at least, right? Yeah. So x of t minus t0 is going to appear in Fourier domain as e raised to minus j omega t0. Multiplying in time domain by e raised to j omega 0 t appears as x of omega minus omega 0. So delay in frequency is multiplication by phasor in time, and delay in time is multiplication by phasor in frequency. It's complete duality symmetry that appears in the expression itself. That's the beauty of Fourier transform.
He has done part of the work of group 5, but they'll do more work. They have a lot of other work to do.
Yeah. So total symmetry appears as in the expressions even.
Very good, very well done. Very well, I think Professor Sataunaya has given a very good explanation. And let me add a few things to the explanation. You see, what is the, now you can go further. What is the interpretation of x of t minus t0 having a Fourier transform capital X omega e raised to the power minus j omega t0. Now, let us see what is happening to the phase. The magnitude is remaining unchanged. Let us take one single sine wave of frequency omega. If I shift this sine wave by t0, what are we doing? What are we doing to the sine wave? You are adding a phase of minus omega t0 to it. Is that right? So shifting a sine wave is tantamount to its equivalent to adding a phase of minus omega t0 to it. So for one frequency, shifting means change of phase, and the change of phase is proportional to the frequency. Okay, that is what is being said here. So changing the phase by omega t0 means taking each sine wave and changing its phase, and then the effect is to shift. So if you change the phase of all the sine waves proportional to the shift, you get a shift in time without any other distortion. If the phase change is not proportional to the frequency, you will get dispersion. They then don't get shifted by the whole signal gets distorted. That is why people like to have linear phase. Linear phase means this. If there is a linear phase C, you cannot have zero phase in most systems, but you want to go as close to linear phase as possible. Because if you go close to linear phase, at least all the sine waves get shifted by the same amount. So the only evil is that the signal gets shifted, but there will be no other distortion. Okay, so that's one thing. Now why do we talk about multiplication by e raised to the power j? Now you can't physically multiply by e raised to the power j omega t. What you often do, for example, what you do in AM radio, how do you do amplitude modulation? How do you, when you listen to signals on the AM, now of course, not many people listen to AM radio I think nowadays, no? But now they listen only to, but in the past when people used to, how many of you have listened to AM radio? Many of you have listened to AM radio. So in AM radio, what is happening? You see, you are multiplying the signal by a carrier. What is that carrier? It's a sine wave of frequency equal to the carrier frequency. So many kilohertz or many, in fact, I think carriers are typically of the order of megahertz, isn't it? So there you are multiplying xt by some cos omega naught t. Now what is xt cos omega naught t? It is the same as xt by 2 e raised to the power j omega naught t plus e raised to the power minus j omega naught t. So here, to interpret what will happen in the Fourier transform when you multiply by a carrier, as you want to do in amplitude modulation, you need to split that carrier into two rotating complex numbers rotating in opposite directions. And that is the interpretation of this modulation property. That's why it's called modulation. Now about differentiation. You take any one sine wave, say take the sine wave a cos omega t plus phi. What happens when you take the derivative? You get minus a times omega sine omega t plus phi. Is that correct? So what is happening? Two things are happening to a sine wave. It remains a sine wave of the same frequency. But what are the changes? There is a change of amplitude. What is the change of amplitude? It's getting multiplied by omega. And what is the change of phase? There is a 90 degrees change of phase because cos has become sine. That is why you get a multiplication by j omega, because there is a change of amplitude by omega and a change of phase by 90 degrees. Okay, is that clear? So this is an additional interpretation. Very good. So we have completed 3 groups. I think now we can go for a cup of tea, and tomorrow the other 2 groups will explain the afternoon session, of course. Yeah. What time will gya? So kya kare? Yeah, tomorrow what we'll do is we'll give the difficult. Tomorrow we'll have many short discussions, and tomorrow we'll give the difficult questions to group 5 and group 4. Tomorrow we'll have 5 more questions, right? So the difficult question will go to group 5.